Pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum.
Hola, this is WIllie, not CM Punk. Welcome to another classic mortal film review. Hey, you wanna hear a bad joke? Superman 3! Superman 3 was an attempt to add humor into the series. The only downside of it was to add humor in the first place. I'm not saying that all superhero movies have to be dark. We've seen those that have been funny and have worked. But this was way ahead of its time, and for this to be attempted in the 80s, had the big risk to come out either silly, campy, or stupid. And it came out silly, campy, and stupid. So, what I could get from the plot, a genius computer technician, played by Richard Pryor, joins forces with an evil con man to build a super intelligent computer capable of controlling the weather to steal the oil of the world. But with Superman interfering, they give him kryptonite that doesn't hurt him, only makes him evil? The point is, he has to stop the villains. Everything in this movie makes no sense. The villains are a joke, the subplots are all over the place, and the main plot makes as much sense if you tell it to a 4-year-old. From what I've heard, Richard Donner, the original director of the first Superman movie, would not return to direct the second one. So this other Richard would direct it with the studio behind his back, and after the big success, he would then be granted all permission to direct the third sequel whatever way he wanted it. I guess you forgot to mention the real plot of the movie. Superman vs. comedy with Richard Pryor in a fight that, unfortunately, spoiler alert, he lost. Just looking at the opening scene, you can tell this movie was doomed. Not saying that it wasn't entertaining, but these gags and slapstick just set the tone that if you were expecting a serious approach to the story, well, that's all gone now. But to the movie's credit, there are some elements that actually work very well. For example, the romance with Clark and Lana. When you think about it, this subplot has no purpose in this movie. But despite that, they both captured the romantic charm as they did in the original with Lois Lane. Also, when Superman turns evil, it actually gets my attention as well. Yeah, it's very campy, he drinks in bars, he straightens the pizza tower because ooh, he's just so evil. But to Christopher Reeve's credit, he does look actually very evil. Just the concept of our inner struggle is always an interesting idea, no matter what. And it was very interesting when he goes head to head against his evil side. If the climax would have ended with him against his corrupt side, this could have been a much better movie. If the whole movie would have been focused on the romance with Lana in Smallville and his bad side taking control of him, this could have potentially been a great Superman movie. But no, for our climax we have Richard Pryor still making jokes, laughable special effects, a ridiculous computerized villain, boom boom boom, explosions explosions, a woman turned into a robot, arcade game? Really? You have an arcade game in this movie? Come on! You know what this is? This is a lost episode from the animated series of the 40s. You know, with their mad scientists and evil robots. Only compared to this movie, the animated show looked like it came out since 2000. Superman 3 seems like an unfocused story that wants to be two movies in one, and that's what this film is, unfocused. In one hand you have the comedy and the villain's plot, but on the other hand you have the romance with Lana and the conflicted dark side of Superman. It's like they wanted to add all of these different genres, romance, action, comedy, sci-fi, but they didn't know how to put it and they just pasted it together and see how it goes. Now, it did well at the box office, but critics hated it. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Richard Pryor because I've seen a few clips of his comedy and he can be pretty funny. I might even consider him as the Kevin Hart of his time. But you can't take him seriously as a villain when you have him bumbling around all the time making jokes just to have him as a celebrity guest. Which in most cases, to have a celebrity in a beloved series movie is not a good idea. It can be profitable, but it doesn't guarantee that it will always work, for which in most cases, it never works. Because then the story and the characters have to take a back seat, and then the movie becomes focused on not making a compelling story, but to feed into the pop culture by making the celebrity look good and having on screen time. Just imagine if you had Beyonce in the Marvel Universe. The whole thing would fall apart and the main central focus would be only on her, not the characters. Or if you had Jimmy Fallon in Jurassic World and oh, that's right, that actually happened. And this is the trap that Superman 3 fell into. Granted, the romance is nice and the junk jar fight scene is a favorite, but it became a product of its time that it has now left it outdated, goofy, sucking all the seriousness out of it and leaving it pretty much as a bad movie. If you found Superman 3 good or enjoyable, I can see why. But for me, it had the potential to be a great Superman movie, but sadly, the focus was given to the wrong people and not what really mattered the most, the story. And for that, I'm giving Superman 3, ironically, a 3 out of 10 stars. And that's that. Those were my thoughts on Superman 3. What do you thought about the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why or why not? You can comment down below and say what were your thoughts about the movie. Well, tune in next time for more Batman and Superman reviews. So for now, that's it for today. Ciao.